Hey everyone, welcome to Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today we have the founder of The One Question, Mr. Mike Scott. How are you, Mike?
Yeah, really good, Stephen. Really good. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on. I think you were one of the first people to book your slot.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I think I was actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was when you first pitched the idea and went, I've had this mad idea about doing one every day for a year, and I thought that's not a mad idea. That sounds like a strategy to me. So
Everything is a strategy. So tell me all about The One Question.
Okay, so The One Question. I actually co-founder. I've got a partner in crime in the business. We are the only system in the world that measures and manages customer and employee happiness. So lots of systems and platforms and stuff out there that do feedback and surveys and all that and ask the wrong questions and too many questions. We are all about customer and employee happiness, and it's something that we really has come out of our own businesses and businesses in the past, and it's one of those startups that really comes out of almost accidental hero in other businesses that we've learned along the way. So
sometimes the best sort of ideas come from
yeah, for sure. Well, at least it's tested and we believe in it because we've tasted our own medicine. So
yeah, exactly. My obvious question is, how do you measure happiness?
With the customer happiness score.
Available at The One
obviously. So we've done too much we did too much testing. And basically we tried to find, we measure in business, not just in feedback, but there's all these KPIs, all these measurements. We've all got CRMs that are full of all this metadata, all this. And the one thing that I've never seen ever yet in somebody's CRM is how happy a customer is, or how they feel. In other words, how they feel about a business. And the way we measure it is, we found the best way is 5 emoji faces. And believe me, we tested 7, 3, 9, thumbs, stars, etc. And it's just 5 faces, and it just says, how do you feel about whatever it happens to be? And it just unlocks so much. The power of it is honestly, it's crazy on what you'd say. Well, surely that's quite simple, but honestly, the power of it is huge, because when you know how people feel, within business, so many areas of the business can do stuff. As marketeers like you and I, you automatically go, oh, right, okay, so I know what to do with my most happy, and I know what to do with my neutrals and win backs and the sad bit and all of that. But actually, in all areas of a business, it's something that's hugely powerful. And I still, we actually trademarked or copyrighted the term customer happiness score and employee happiness score. And when I went to the IP office, I honestly thought they'd go, well, someone's already, that's already surely a score of happiness is something that somebody in the world of business has twigged on might be a reasonable idea. And they were like, no, that's fine. No one's got that. So we were like, okay. So it's all good. And, it's something great. Nobody's yet argued with me, unless you want to have a go. Actually, trying to improve your customer happiness score and your employee happiness score as a way to grow your business isn't a good strategy.
It's emotional data as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I keep saying it's the missing piece of most people's strategies. And, there are so many other measures out there. I mean, in our world, we've got, net promoter score is probably the biggest one that everyone knows, which is on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely to refer. And everyone's seen the question asked by, every coffee shop this side of London. And you're asking the wrong question. You're going, would you in the future possibly do this? It's like saying, if I say I'm going on a diet, people don't necessarily do it. But it's just the wrong question. It's like, the secret of business, ask people how they feel and do something about it. Literally that basic. And yet it's something that an awful lot of businesses, I think, because we're all so busy and we think business is complicated. And actually, when you simplify it down to, what are the most successful businesses in the world, generally, apart from Ryanair, just to put it out there, generally, they are the ones that have tribes and happy people and people that do their work for them, people going out being advocates and referrers. And ultimately they are, like we are, they are all about happy customers. I'm going to try not to say happy too many times in this.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe we should have a happy count.
Yeah, let's not do that. But
I'm surprised it's not plastered on your wall behind you, to be honest.
It could be. I've got a projector if you've got 5 minutes.
There we go. Have all the keywords going on. That's really cool. So for you, when you started the one question,
Yep.
was it an obvious route for you to go down, or did it come out, you mentioned because of your past experiences?
I suppose it became where it originally came from is still involved with helping out a large leisure resort on the east coast of the UK. It's 100 years old this year. It's a very, very secure and traditional business. I started there probably about 12. I came out of the NHS, career in IT, decided right as the recession hit to give up a very secure, stable job and go into the private sector. And best decision I ever made, as much as I actually loved working in the NHS, but actually best decision because I realised there was so much red tape around me I couldn't move. And when I came to the leisure resort, I came in as a techie. I came in as IT director to, modernize. And it was really at the time when obviously Facebook was taken off, the ads platform started, and there were all these new opportunities. And it was a very traditional marketing resort. It was door drops. I mean, basically the way we would probably fill most of the beds was, do a 4 million door drop. You'd get whatever, 30,000 brochure requests divided by. Wow. And it literally, as I started here, and a lot of it, as all of this stuff is generally in life, you fall over stuff, is it fell off a cliff as I started. I mean, literally direct mail died within 6 months because I think we all got recycle bins by the front door and it never made it into the house. So we kind of, because I had an IT background, a bit techie, kind of started to get a bit involved with, Facebook and ads platforms and helping out. And it was right in the early days where you were paying 50p for 1,000 impressions. It was just, now I look and go, yeah, it's got a bit more fruity. But one of the things we were doing on the resort at the time is we were asking customers NPS. We were saying, how likely would you refer? And I remember with my co-founder having a conversation saying, are we really asking the right question? Because surely we just want to know how happy they are, because that's what it's if 100-year business that's actually survived on happy customers. So we changed the question, we tested the faces to oblivion, and we implemented the business. And then so I kind of transitioned into full-time marketing, and what I started doing was taking the happy customers and creating, literally custom audiences on Facebook of happy customers, and then advertising to them for the social proof and going, oh, look, the cost is going down. We then started creating lookalike audiences of our happiest customers. And we found our acquisition costs were actually, when the CPMs were going up, our costs were going down, because actually we were looking for people who were our happiest customers. And then, it kind of spiraled on from there. We then opened a restaurant, a separate business restaurant. And we had the belief that if you open it, they'll come. And they do for about 6 weeks, and then they stop coming. So we had one of our late night chats, and we said, well, why don't we think about that? And on a Saturday night, we were always busy on a Saturday night, because every restaurant, unless you're awful, is on a Saturday night. We were like, well, why don't we on a Saturday night ask people how they feel? And if they're really happy, why don't we get them to join a loyalty club where they can come on a Wednesday, Thursday and Sunday, the quieter nights, at a different deal. But we give them vouchers to give to their friends to come on Saturday night. They come on a Saturday night, they like it, join the club. And effectively, we put this in, and over the first year, we got 20,000 emails and 10,000 club members. Wow. There's only 60,000 people live within 12 miles of where I'm sitting now. But also because we were finding out those that weren't happy, because ultimately no business, wants to admit it, but we all have unhappy customers, because we were actually dealing with that, because we knew, we went straight to the top of TripAdvisor, because actually we weren't massaging anything. If somebody was not happy, we were just doing good customer service because we knew they weren't happy. And therefore we almost created this machine there. And that restaurant, is now, you can't get in there for, love no money, including me when I try now either. And we did it again with another couple, and we've kind of sat down a couple of years ago and we went, this strategy, and I'm the first one to be doing rainmaking on Facebook and lead gen and all that good stuff. But actually, I think a lot of, especially marketeers, it's all about new blood. And actually, it's not. You've got, you should have a customer base now, They are your most powerful social proof marketing, feedback to improve your products and service. They are the most powerful thing. And yet everyone goes on Facebook and just, boost posts to people with an interest. And I'm like, honestly, double down on your existing customers, get them happy, get them referring, get them being advocates. If you're not, if you've mucked up, deal with it. And as a strategy, we were like, we need to black box this up. And we then went, okay, let's set a separate business up, set up a SaaS company, and actually not just give people a tool, because, you can give someone a drill, but if they don't need a hole, and actually go out to people and say, here's some blueprints, which is what we've been working a lot on this year. Here's a blueprint to lower your Facebook costs. Here's a blueprint to not lose your best employees. And we've literally creating trainings, learnings, and templates and strategies. And therefore we've then created a pretty cool SaaS tool. Still loads to do on it, and it's software, and it's, all the fun of software development. But actually, therefore, the people that use the tool, because they know the why, and that's the biggest thing, is once they know the why, they'll use the tool. It's hugely strong. And for me, the fact that it's limitless is really the opportunity, because, in any traditional bricks and mortar, it's finite by design. But actually, the fun thing with this is just where can we take it? And, is there someone on here in a few years going, yeah, Stephen, it's customer happiness score is the one being used all over the world with that platform, but we've come up with a better idea. But I just don't know what's more is better than happiness, really. Surely that is top of the tree, but I wait.
Yeah, that's the end result that most people want, isn't it?
Well, that really came from, I did some NLP training many years ago, and that kind of is what I mean. All like these things in life that's kind of come together, was I always remembering that, doing a whole thing around, chunk people up, what really is, what are we all after, and actually what's the benefit of, and keep going up. And it does become happiness, and therefore that kind of came into our thinking around this. So
the parts integration of the NLP tool.
Hey, now we're talking.
I'm an NLP trainer, so it's why do you think people get feedback so wrong then? Like we were saying about that 1 to 10 score and the wrong question. Why do people get it wrong and still get it wrong?
Many reasons. I could bore you to death with, but let's go through it. So one thing I would say is okay, I'll give you an example. I went to a well-known national coffee chain, which I won't mention the name.
What's it?
It was Costa. And I pulled up outside, ran in. So I was literally grabbing one on the way to work, which is not good use of money, because you could just get one in the office and save £3. But anyway, I literally ran in, grabbed a black Americano, used my club card, Costa card, to get my points. And I got a survey middle of that afternoon. You recently went to, this Costa, we'd love your feedback. They asked me 13 questions in this survey, including friendliness of the barista, heat of the coffee, cleanliness of the toilets, how were the windows, what was the food like, were the tables clean? And I'm like, just ask me, were you happy? Because with the one question as well, we do ask why, because it's great knowing how someone feels, but if you don't know the reason, there's no context. But actually, the barista in there is a really nice guy, and every time I go in, he knows my name, he knows what I have. I probably would have put, all good. Carl's a great guy, great manager, keep it. And I'm like, businesses, feedback is all about them, the business, and it's at the end of a transaction. That's what everyone does. No one fills them in. Long form surveys, no one fills them in my opinion, nowadays. Or if they do, the danger is they're the edges. They're the most unhappy and the most happy. And your core silent majority, that are the ones that really have got the insight, are in the middle, and they're not prepared to fill in 40 question surveys. And you look at the industry, you've got NPS, I said 0 to 10. Well, in NPS world, a 9 and 10 is the same thing. Well, it's not. You ask a 9 what they think about your restaurant. They'll go, love the starter, love the main, great dessert. It was a bit cold. There are butters. A 6 and a 0 is the same thing. Well, if you've got two people and one gave you 0 out of 10 and one gave you 6, they're not the same thing. I'm telling you, one's really unhappy. The other one's a bit meh, as we call it, like meh, it's all right. Other metrics. One of the other big ones, customer satisfaction as a metric. What kind of goal is that? Oh, I'm looking to satisfy my customers. Brilliant. We live in a world where if you honestly, your pinnacle of your goal is to have satisfied customers, that's not good. You need an army of people going out saying you are amazing. And I think more so in the future, back to, you look at social media now. I truly believe this micro social culture where now we're all in groups, we're all in WhatsApp messages, the news feed, there's debate, is it going to go off Facebook, etc. There are going to be these micro communities, and therefore an army of happy customers out there in those communities doing because you're not going to be in there. As a business, you can't dive in a group and start going, oh, hello, we thought we'd pop in and sell you stuff. So therefore, actually having an army of happy people, I don't want satisfied customers. That's not a good, to me, that isn't a good outcome. So I think the feedback industry, it's the end of a transaction. No one fills them in. And it's literally to fill an Excel spreadsheet that gets passed up the line to somebody who sits in a meeting who no one cares about and nothing comes from it. And, I sat on a bus in Norwich just before Christmas, and on the, I'm not going to say the bus company name, but it's the one in Norwich. And on the window, it said, "We care," with like thumbs going, go to tell us how you feel.com or something, tellus.com. So because I do every feedback survey in the world, obviously, I went to the page and literally the first thing that came up, please note, we do not respond to any feedback. I was like, well, you don't care that much, do you? And actually businesses should be using feedback as the start of a conversation. When was the last time that you said thank you to a business in feedback and they came back and acknowledged it? If you stay at our leisure resort and you give feedback either during the stay or after the stay, a real human being in our platform talks to you.
Never.
Honestly, they're actually human and they're there. And if you say, the chef or the waiter was amazing, we tell the waiter that you said it. And that, that culture is, and it just isn't a feedback thing. Feedback is a necessary evil for most businesses. And actually, when you say to someone, do you want more feedback? The general thing we get is they go, not really.
Do you think some fear feedback then?
Yes, because they don't necessarily see it as an opportunity to, because, there's marketing, like you and I would take that and go, well, what could I do with the data? I can do win-back campaigns, I can do clubs, I can do all this. Is actually for product and service improvement. What we found is by having the score as a happiness score, which straight away has a positive intention, because it sounds, is actually you end up getting the entire team from the boardroom to staff room actually get behind and understand that actually, whatever I do today, if I can help raise that score as a culture in the business. So we find generally it's very well received throughout the business, whereas in most businesses, feedback is sterilized on the way up because it never, nobody wants the criticism, etc. And it's a blame game culture. And therefore people, knock their hats to it, but in reality, they don't embrace it. They don't see the opportunity that actually doubling down on how customers feel and doing the feedback thing is actually hugely positive. And our team at the leisure resort, because you've got a really good product and service, actually enjoy talking to customers who go, yes, great, brilliant, we'll see you soon, and etc. If you've got a really bad business with a score of 0 because everyone's really unhappy, I'd probably not use our platform. Sort out your products and services first, because you know what the problem is, like we all do. And then start communicating. So yes, but certainly when you talk to people about feedback, the reason we actually say we're not a feedback platform is because we're about growth, and actually it's a growth platform because we are helping businesses utilize that in a different form. So we are not, if you go, well, why are you any different than, I don't know, SurveyMonkey, which is the one probably most people will know. I'm like, that's just a feedback tool. There's no logic to actually growing your business with that. It literally will end up in a Google Drive with the results that nobody cares about.
Did you, from day one, did you go with that tactic, or did it change over time from speaking to people about the tool?
No, we always knew, because the original conversation came out of the growth we'd had in our own businesses, and therefore we always knew we didn't want to sell a tool. We wanted to sell not an ideology, not a cult, but effectively is, back to a bit Russell Brunson, if you want to say, what's the one thing? The one thing for me is working with companies who believe that their future relies on happy customers and employees, not their future relies on using a feedback tool. So actually, once somebody conceptually goes, yeah, actually, there's a lot of logic in that, and doing stuff with happy customers, then we've got the only tool that measures it. So we perceive ourselves as being blue ocean. We're not in a red ocean with all the other feedback platforms. We are in our own little, swimming pool over here, and hopefully that swimming pool becomes a big swimming pool.
A lake.
That's the word. An ocean of loveliness, of happiness.
Happiness. There we go. What sort of customers are typically finding you and wanting to engage?
The opportunity, I suppose, for us, the answer is there isn't. Well, we did have a debate about funeral parlours, maybe, but in terms of it's a wide variety. I mean, our background is hospitality, so you tend to attract. I think you attract your own. So there's a lot of obviously restaurant day attractions, hotels, etc. And they also do have a pain at the moment that a lot of niches don't have, which is online reputation. But saying that, it's coming. You look at your checker trades. I look at America as a little bit of a, in America, you now get review sites for lawnmowers, for eye care, for dentistry. Jesus. That's coming to the UK, this review culture. You've now got Glassdoor, you've got, checker trade, all of these. So, but particularly in hospitality, the most reviewed, apart from Amazon with products, but the most reviewed niche there is. Therefore, actually, the not protecting your online reputation, but actually realizing the value of making sure that you're ranking and rating high. So certainly a lot of hospitality. Outside of that, though, it's, B2B, B2C in so many different niches. What's the pain in a school? Funnily enough, head teachers, it's Ofsted. So if you say, well, why don't you keep asking the parents, the children, the stakeholders, how they feel and improving the score when Ofsted come in and show them that actually your community, you go, oh, brilliant. You go care homes, what's their pain? The CQC, they come and do an inspection and close them down. Not if they turn around and go, look, happy patients, happy, etc. So what we're finding, I suppose the opportunity for us is it's not B2B or B2C, it's P2P, it's people. And really don't care. And we've yet to have a conversation in any niche where you actually go, does it work for you in your niche to have happy people? As much as I'm going to stop saying happy because the count is now 312. It is true though, that should be the goal. We live in such a commoditizing world now where if you're trying to compete on product or service really now, it's experience. That's where the world is now. It's about an experience, and people measure experience by how they feel, and they measure how they feel by how happy they are. So So stop asking them if they're satisfied, if they're going to tell their friend, and actually cut to the chase of what really makes a difference. So.
How do you motivate that middle person to participate though? Because on a review site you always see like the amazing reviews, and then I always go to like the 1 and 2 star reviews because they're normally
obviously
and if the business has replied to those reviews, it's even funnier.
It's like carnage watching the it's usually a BuzzFeed link to go and have a look and go
exactly.
Ouch. How do you get people to care? Funnily enough, I think in other metrics I get that, because I'd go, I don't know really. Like one of them is customer effort. How much effort was it for the customer? I'm like, I don't care, because what's that mean? But actually, when I say staff room to boardroom, boardroom to staff room, whatever, it's true. I've seen it in, our business, but others, when actually you talk to staff about what they're there to do in any niche, is actually no one disagrees with it. And because we also obviously say it's about employee happiness, and therefore we work with a lot of HR departments who say to their staff, how do you feel? Can we help? Let's, be holistic about, not just do the yearly staff survey that everyone gets mandated to do. And you don't want to slag off the boss, so you slag off the boss's friend, and and they've got their place.
Fear it going back to the manager, or fear it going back to the
and actually it's just, how do you feel is actually you are empowering your staff. And the thing we found more than anything is almost this org chart. In a traditional org chart, you got boss at the top, senior managers, middle managers, etc. No org chart generally has customers on it. So we're like, we'll flip it. Actually, if all of your customers are telling your staff how they feel, your staff are going, no, it's not the boss having a go. It's actually the customers are saying, we like this, we don't like this. Then actually the boss's job is the bottom of the pyramid, no longer the top. And your job is to support your staff in delivering happiness to your customers. So we find that the fact that it is that score and it's got that name is culturally, which is why we think it's not just a tool, back to platform, is it's a cultural change in a business to go, do you know what? It's not bad old logic, this, that these, two guys from, the coast of the UK are advocating, and we're passionate about it because literally we didn't see someone else and go, let's copy their idea. We know this stuff works. We literally know the value of doing this stuff.
And if you ever ask someone, do you want your staff to be happier? And they say no, they always sound like a bit of a dick.
Yeah, because that's what I mean. Who's going to argue? Well, no, I'm sorry. I'd much prefer very unhappy customers and staff.
Like my unhappy staff and my unhappy customers. Thank you.
I do question Ryanair. I'd be interested to ask Mr. Ryanair, just out of interest.
How would you get them on board? Let's use them as a case study. How would you get them on board as a client?
Well, back to pick your ideal customers and don't try and who do I want to work with? The first thing, whenever I do, and I make a point of doing quite a few discovery chats with people still, because I'm a big believer that you should always be at the coalface part of the time to make sure that you can see what's happening. Is actually the ones that are always successful with us are the ones that agree with the concept first and then go, can I have a look at the tool? Not, can you demo the tool? Because actually they've got, and it's that why. So actually, in terms of, would I convince a company who don't care about happiness to care? There's an awful lot of low-hanging fruit out there, and I believe very good businesses who do care, but maybe go, actually, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, let's use that strategy. We do care. We do want to improve. We want the team to have a number to get behind. We want our customers to do our marketing and going out there and telling the world. They're the people we want to work with, because if I have to convince somebody that, as you say, they need happy customers, we're probably just going to argue about the logic, I think.
But it's also very customer led, isn't it? Because I think more and more people now want to have a happier experience. They're much more aware about the openness of like feedback and Facebook pages, and there's a much shorter line of communication to a business. Whereas before, it'd be, if you weren't happy or you were happy, you would send them an email or even write a letter.
Because most businesses are hiding harder and harder, hiding behind, and I'm a fan of, chatbots and all this good stuff, and send us an email and we'll respond in a week and all this, great customer service stuff. But I stand by the fact is, if you phone our leisure resort now, someone will pick the phone up and speak to you. I mean, it's like, why would we want to put them in a PESH 1 and we'll phone you back in 3 hours if we, and I'm like, no, it's like, you've got to drop a business to be successful. And my belief, they've got to drop the barriers. They've got to stop making it difficult for their customers to talk to them, because people will walk off. And I do, that experience and culture. I'm literally about to move my electric at home not because of price, because I literally cannot get hold of them to the point. And when I get them on a live chat, they then tell me to phone. And I phone, and I'm like, at what point did somebody, apart from someone sat down and said, oh, we need to lower our customer service costs a bit, without going, do you know what? If we've got no happy customers left, do you think we might go out of business? So, I'm like, open up, talk to customers at all areas of it. The stuff you learn that you, as business owners, as founders, not just throughout the business, the stuff you learn from your customers to create a self-directing, almost self-correcting business in a world where really, if you're not customer driven or not, you are, in my opinion, big time in trouble in the future.
I often call it the Selfridges effect, because before Selfridges was in central London, you would go into a shop and you wouldn't be able to touch anything or feel anything, all that kind of stuff. And he came to London and was like, right, get rid of that. Let the person try on a glove, let them try on the scarf, do all this sort of stuff. And everyone's mind was just like, no, you can't do that. How? No, you can't. They must purchase first. But when do you think it changed to the whole, let's hide behind XYZ, let's hide behind chatbots and make it as hard as possible? Do you think it was costing, or?
Yeah, I think because, I'm the biggest Amazon addict in the world. My front door, sometimes I can't see it when I get home. It's like, but I do think, I'm not saying they've got a lot to blame. I don't mean it in a negative way about them, but, I think those as well as others, this driven culture to be cheap, be the cheapest, therefore people buy into the discount culture, and they buy into that I've got to be the cheapest. And I get the old, don't be in the middle, be the cheapest or be the best. But if it's a race to the bottom of the drain, everyone ends up at the bottom of the drain.
Yeah.
And if you are cutting back on your offering all the time just to stay afloat, you can't. That it just doesn't work. And the way, in my opinion, to be more price insensitive and actually get people not to go, I'm looking for the cheapest, is actually you just want them to go, oh yeah, they're not the cheapest, but I tell you what, I love these guys. These guys are brilliant. They do this. So I understand why it's happened, but I honestly think all of us now want an individual experience. I always say, if you look at gin, is my example, gin suddenly became trendy because they do all these small batch, different flavors. None of us want gin. No one buys Gordon's gin. It's got to be apricot and cotton candy, small batch in Tesco's, because they've only made like 3 bottles, and one of them's yours today.
Oh, they've got the name craft on it. So
yeah. We all want we all want to feel special. We all do. It's a human trait. And actually, if we feel like we're in a queue with everyone else and no one cares about us, we'll accept it with Ryanair because we want a cheap flight time. But I'm not having to go about them. But in other areas, no, I'm sorry. We want service, and we will pay I believe as a as a nation, is we are willing to pay for good everything, to feel good about it. And hopefully we've proven that in our own, and our people. The leisure resort, their customer happiness score, because I was looking at it this morning, is 96.1 out of 100. Wow. So without any context, you go, okay, that's really good. But it's not 96.2 yet, and therefore it's still striving. As a team, we strive to improve that, and that's something that we've just seen us. And back to Accidental Heroes is John and I, we didn't sit down and go, let's just come up with it. We have literally fallen over as we've gone along, and gone, actually, do you know what? This actually works, and it's not rocket science, but there aren't many. Go to most businesses. How happy are your customers or your employees? And there'll be no other business can tell you.
Yeah, and it must be quite rewarding for you two creating it and seeing these changes happen.
Yeah, which is all great, selling people the tool, and obviously SaaS and continuity and all that great stuff. But in reality, it's fun helping other people, seeing them succeed. Yeah. That's the fun stuff. And actually helping other businesses grow. And I suppose just getting back that as much as, because we talk about happiness, we also have to breathe that with our customers, and therefore we're very much our push this year is really pushing a customer-led development of our platform moving forwards, because actually John and I will come up with a million stupid features and upgrades and ideas, but actually, again, if you're going to say listen to your customers, react, etc., is actually we are moving much towards talking to them. How are you feeling? What's working? What's not? Right? Not every single
lead from the front.
And actually show that we're following, or back to tasting your own medicine, make sure that we are developing our platform in line. But if most of our customers are telling us what they want and we deliver it and they're happy, why are we worrying about the future? It can only be good.
Exactly. What you sort of answered my next question, actually, in terms of for the next year, what are you going to do? What's happening with the one question? Where do you want to take this?
We in the next year, it's growing. I mean, literally growing into new niches, new verticals, etc., because there's loads of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Because we don't just want to sell a tool, it's also learning for us. So pick one and learning particular pains in particular industries and what we can do to support them, because we don't just want to say is a login. We want to be able to go, here's help, because most people want help more than they want a tool. And therefore us learning how can we help that sector more. We literally had a meeting this morning. We're talking about the high street. How do you help retail more? How the high, we all know the high street's in big trouble, but then again, there's a candle shop, a local candle shop, just half a mile down the road from me, and I'm a Yankee candle addict. Don't judge me. These are like 20, 25 quid a candle, which is mental, really. Now I go in there maybe once, twice a month, maybe.
Are you in a week then?
No, come on, I'm not. I'm not that, but anyway, is the guy, the lovely couple that run it, they don't ask me how I feel. They don't ever capture my details. They don't, I'm not special to them. And I think, okay, I must spend £1,000 a year on candles. Wow. Why don't you find out that I'm happy? Invite me to a candle club. All you've got to do is give me first dibs on a new smelly candle. You don't have to discount it. Just say, next time there's a new smelly candle, you're first in line. I'm like, woo. And by the way, get any of your friends to come in and we'll look after you, etc., etc. And I'm not saying particularly my next vertical is going to be the candle shop industry. But, it is true in so many industries. You just look at it and think, come on, it's like what used to work doesn't, in a lot of industries now. And a lot of people are like, well, we've always done it this way. And I'm like, that I think is hugely risky.
That just shows no adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, Moore's law, the world is spinning at a pace. And, you've got to adapt and adapt quickly. And if you ever wanted to see that, just look at the high street. I mean, it's carnage for some. And yet those that are adapting, I mean, we just got a brand new Primark in Norwich opened a few weeks ago. And straight away now that's the experience. They've now got a cafe and a boutique and a nail bar. And you think, they're adapting with it. They're realizing that it's not about a 99p t-shirt for too long. And that actually it's people are going in there, having a coffee, having their nails done, and then spending whatever on their way out, etc. And I do think, businesses need to adapt. Saying all of that, however, adapting is still not going to convince me that at its core, happy customers and employees are the key to everything. 279 happies.
I counted 540.
Okay, sorry, dude.
What are we on? Is that candle shop going to become a little pet project for you?
No, because I have too many of those pet projects. That's the problem with having being a founder and being able to maybe do, have more freedom to do stuff. If you're not careful, you do end up literally doing that. You go, oh, I want to prove that concept out and prove that concept out and prove that. And that's, if anything, one of our pains is going, actually, let's double down and focus. And focus and say, right, let's actually get word out there. So one of our other big things for this year is really getting out there and talking about how we're a replacement for a lot of these KPIs out there. Stop asking stupid, stop measuring stuff that doesn't make any difference in a business and actually start measuring on something that actually makes a difference, because you can't manage a business if you're not measuring the right things. Yes, lots of getting out there and speeches and chats and webcasts and but also that's really good fun. Chatting to people like you is brilliant.
Yes, keeps you busy anyway.
Yeah.
So for you, actually, one question I did have is, what's the difference between what you're doing and that? And this is an awful question. I'm just pre-framing that for you now. It is a bad question, but the little smiley faces you get in Waitrose and Sainsbury's with the little sad, happy, and you just tap it, because that really doesn't give you any real data, does it?
You mean the ones that the staff push? Yeah. The ones in PC World where the manager walks past and taps green. To me, if you can't verify it, trust it, and follow it up, don't bother asking, because if it's not actionable, and I don't believe pushing a face in a toilet of a train station on a podium does anything. Back to what's the benefit? The benefit is somebody at head office goes, oh, the NPS score's -12 for that toilet. You don't know why. Was it because the trains were late and everyone was just annoyed when they went in the loo? Was it that, there was a trouble in there? You just don't know. So therefore, I actually hate those clicky buttons.
Zero context.
Partly because when my son, who's now one of my sons, who's now 21, when he was about 7, we went in Cobbett, for those that remember Comet, back to the high street for a bit, and he pushed a red face on one of those as we stood at the till, and the guy on the till, who was the supervisor manager, had a go at him and said, don't push that, head office check that. And I always remember then thinking, what? It's like, just push a happy one if you want to level it out. So to me, worlds apart, because the fact that you push a button and nobody can actually do anything about it, talk to you, build rapport with you, build a relationship, have a conversation. Why are you asking? Honestly, why are you asking?
Waste the space.
Yeah.
Basically. It's for me, whenever I look at that, I just go, that's a checkbox been ticked by someone else.
Yep, up the chain, head office. I mean, I went, unfortunately, I had to go and have a mole removed start of last year. And I promise you this is true. I went to our local hospital, the one I used to work at, and I went and had it removed, and it was absolutely fine. Yeah. And I got home, and I'm not exaggerating, I got through the post, would you, on a scale of 0 to 10, because it was NPS, but they call it something else, NHS Friends Test. They said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you recommend this clinic to a friend or family member? I'm like, no, I don't really want to recommend that they go to a clinic and have a mole cut off, really. Yeah. I'm like, come on. Anyway, my a friend of mine works there, and they do this in all the departments now, which is just, to me, what a stupid question. But anyway, and all they know is, and he went, it's a stick. If their score is below a certain thing, they get pulled up to go and justify. So therefore, back to your, how do you get your middle management? How do you get people to actually engage? It's make it positive, because as soon as feedback is seen as a stick, everyone does all they can to avoid it, basically.
Yeah. Comes back to that whole fear of feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Big time.
Massively. Listen, Mike, really loved having you on here. My last question to everyone is, what are 3 things that you could give a listener or viewer that would help them along their journey, because you've got such a wide varied of experience?
Can I say happy 3 times, or are you
going
it's happiness, and happiness.
Okay, there we go. Boom, done. Easy.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. It's been great catching up.
No, thank you, Mike. Anyone that wants to contact you, best way?
Mike at theonequestion.com. Really easy.
There we go. I love it when people are just very easy, just like boom, done. Thanks, Mike. And this has been Founders365. I've been Steven Haggerty. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening.